What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to YGOPD, your Yu-Gi-Oh! Professional Development, and today I have a really spicy Scareclaw deck to go ahead and showcase. I've been playing with this and having a lot of fun with it. This is definitely a solid rogue pick right now. Has a lot of different resources going for it, has a lot of different unique interactions, and also has the added ability to run a lot of different packages like the Brave, plenty of hand traps, and of course all of the Scareclaw monsters themselves are one-card starters that can work under Brave. So it's been a really cool test run of this. Definitely going to keep playing this for another few weeks. Feels really, really good. But of course, before we hop into everything, I want to shout out our new subs of the channel: Bregador, Matt, Jammin, Taylor, Jinzo, and Tom. Thank you all so much for joining the channel. If you like what you see and would love to stick around, please consider dropping a subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be included in the next sub shout out, just make sure your subscriptions are public when you sub so I can shout you out in the next video. And if you have the time, leaving a like really does help the channel, does help boost the algorithm, and does help me grow. So with all that said, let's go ahead and hop right into the main deck. Okay, we'll go ahead and hop into the main deck, then we'll do the extra inside, and I will also showcase a live test hand to showcase to you how the deck actually works and functions with all these different pieces kind of moving in one time. So starting off, we're going to go ahead and do the Scareclaw package. We are on 3 of every single name. Rykart is essentially Sky Striker Engage. If you can special summon it to a zone either in the same column as your extra deck Scareclaw link, so directly under it, or adjacent to any other Scareclaw monster, meaning on the left or right of that monster that's already on the field. When it's special summoned, you can then add a Scareclaw spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and then if there are 3 or more defense position monsters on the field at resolution, including itself, you can draw a card. So you can see why this plus the adventure token and Griffin already give you that search and that draw. So that's really why we max out on this, and there's nothing wrong with using this as a normal summon, not triggering the effect, linking it away to search the field spell, getting another one, and then you can just special it and keep going from there. Moving on, we have the other names here. The rest all don't really do a lot. They're very similar to a blend of Crusadia and Marincess, I guess, just because they can special summon themselves directly under or next to other Scareclaw monsters, and they each have a specific effect that they'll give the link Scareclaw that you have on forward, which is going to be the Tryhard. This one boosts everything by 300 for each Scareclaw in defense that you have on the field with different names. So typically you're getting about a 600 boost, which isn't the end of the world. Still a nice little piece to add in. And then you play Triple Astra. This is by far the best one. While this is on board, your Scareclaw link can attack number of times equal to, or I should say up to, the amount of Scareclaw monsters you have in defense position. So if you have 3 different Scareclaw names on board, it can attack up to 3 times, letting you do over 9k damage right off the bat. So it really helps with the OTK potential. And then the last one here, we play R3 Balone. This is definitely by far the worst one, and it just gives your Scareclaw link piercing. Doesn't really come up too much, but it's still a good extender and starter nonetheless, because all of these names can go directly into your link 1. And then after that, this deck does blend in the lore and with the text on different cards and things like that with Visa Starfrost. You can play 3. I have 3. I've tested it. I just wanted some space. But at the end of the day, if you're going more of a pure route, I think 3 is really, really solid in this deck. It also pairs really well with Rykart to make a card like Baron or a different level 10 synchro of your choice, which is really, really powerful for the deck. And it's just a really good extender that I will get into a little bit later that applies to the Link 1. This also is a material that can be used to go directly into the Link 1 as well. On top of that, we have 2 of the field spell, the Primeval Planet. This has a couple effects on activation. It searches either Visa Starfrost or any Scareclaw name from your deck to your hand. And then its second effect is if there are 3 or more defense position monsters on the board, that includes either field, you can target a card and pop it. So this just helps give you spot removal if you're going second. It's built-in removal. It's a searcher. It's, you get it off the link 1. It really does everything you need for the deck. It's a really, really powerful card. But you only want 2 just because you can pretty much search it out whenever you want. And you don't want things a little bit too redundant in the deck, since the link 1 can search this non-once per turn, so you could obviously get both to hand in the same turn through one combo. But Moving on, we do play one Arrival. You could bump this up, but I like one is fine. This is just Monster Reborn for Scareclaw, basically, or Visa Starfrost. And it's searchable, but you really only need the one, similar to a card like Marincess Wave. Doesn't special from deck, though, but in that aspect, it's just a searchable Monster Reborn. And then the 2 Scareclaw Traps. This basically lets a defense position Scareclaw monster attack while in defense and boosts it a little bit, I believe. But the relevant effect is you can send it from the field to the grave while you have a face-up Scareclaw to negate the activation of a card or effect. So you basically have a built-in searchable Omni Negate, which is great. And this is basically Icarus attack. You tribute a Scareclaw, and then you can pop 2 cards on your opponent's board, which is also really nice. So we have searchable built-in negation and spot removal, as well as this can banish itself from the grave to prevent the effects of link monsters from activating for the rest of the turn that are on the field. Kind of comes up every now and then, but is nice against different type of floating effects or just things that are a little bit awkward to get around. Maybe turning off a card like Apollosa if you dump this, different things like that. But that is the Scareclaw engine. It's quite big. Obviously, that is the focus, and that's about half of the deck right there. This is 40 cards. And then moving on, we do play, like I said, the Adventure Package. If you have access to this, I think there is no reason not to. This is an actual incredible engine for this deck. It insulates your combos by giving you an Omni Negate, as well as puts 2 defense position monsters on the board to trigger that Reichardt search and draw. So 3 Right and 3 Enchantress. This is pretty straightforward. Not much to say here. These are all 1-card starters that get you that Omni Negate. And then, of course, 1 Fateful, 1 Dracoback, and 1 Griffin. We do not run the Foolish Burial. There's no real need to. If you're playing the Tri-Brigade variant of Scareclaw and you want to include something like this, you can get away with that. But you don't want to open too much of the same thing. The Scareclaw names are fine, obviously, because they can both be normal or special, be used as starters or extenders. So you have some room with that. But with the Brave stuff, I think you just want a full package, and that's good. And even Enchantress is a good level 3 extender. Moving on, the next package we actually run is a little bit different. Not many, I'd say, profiles are running this. I've only seen maybe 1 or 2 on this engine, but I really think this is an incredible piece of removal and package to run. This plus Brave package is insane for going first or second. It just functions essentially like either setup for disruption through Griffin and a card like either Floor or Punishment, and or Dracoback, and then obviously Elder Entity Entis and Floor going second. So really, really solid. This is essentially another Engage now with Garura, so you can just set up your full board combo and then just do this as follow-up, which is really, really nice. So we do play the 3 Servant, and then we just play 1 Floor, 1 Ecclesia, and 1 Punishment. And it's even not the end of the world if you open up either of these, because you can just discard them off Fateful. If you want to make your Nadir live to get the Garura draw for something like Ecclesia, you can send it to the grave and then add it back later in the turn. So it's just a really, really powerful engine for the deck. I really, really love it a lot. And then the last are just a few flex spots. You could put whatever type of defensive cards in here. Like I said, if you're not a fan of Adventure or you don't have the money to afford Adventure, you could take a heavier direction toward the Bestials. You could play a few more hand traps. You could go pure going second with a lot more board breakers or equalizers. You have so many flex spots in this build. You can really take it in whatever direction that you want. But these are the flex spots that I'm messing with right now. 2 Druid Swarm. You could play Magnemute and all this other stuff. I don't have many slots, and I wanted some varied disruption. I just like that this is a DD Crow, and it's a pop, another defensive body that you can put on the field. You can link it away for Tryheart and get a pop on the way. This just kind of checks a lot of boxes, similar to a card like Double Fenrir. Again, it's another piece of removal. It does pressure both going first and second, and is just another free body in defense that can either be used for link climbing or to help trigger Reichardt. And then last, we just play 2 Droplet. You'll always have spare stuff to send with the field spell, with the adventure stuff. You have a lot of free reign with this card, so I don't think there's any reason not to play it. If you're playing any piece of negation, this is probably the best bet if you have access to it. But again, you're not limited to these more expensive packages. You can change it for hand traps, for Bestials, for whatever you want. I would say the Dogmatica package is definitely something really cool to try out because it is a little bit cheaper now, and just does take quite a lot of the work out of what you need to do with the deck. So that is the main deck. We'll go ahead and showcase the extra deck here. I'll start with our big boy links and work our way down. So starting off, we have the 1 Underworld Goddess, the 1 Access Code Talker, and the 1 Apollosa. I think all 3 of these are probably pretty solid. These 2 more apply directly to a card like IP Masquerena, just to be able to add more disruption, or depending on your board, you might be able to leave a single Scareclaw on the board to make one of your traps live and just climb directly into a card like Apollosa. Access code, I feel like, is a given in this deck because when it hits back to your turn, usually on turn 2, turn 3, you're sitting on a Link 3 plus a bunch of stuff on the board. It's really easy just to climb right into this, clear their field, and just OTK. So really, really powerful pieces there. And then we have the 1 Unicorn and the 1 Selene. You can play whatever you want. Selene actually is a little bit more interesting if you would want to play the Souls package in this along with Brave. I've tried that too. The draws become a little redundant unless you're willing to cut a few things to make room for more hand traps and more Bastiles and things like that. But Selene is still really good. We have the Dogmatica package in here. We have Dark Charmer. There's a lot of ways to get spellcasters here on the board, and just having this as a way to help clean up is really, really nice. So, and then after that, we play 2 of the Tri-Heart. This is the main boss monster of the deck. It does a few different things. It's kind of Baguska, but worse. While on the field, it's a continuous effect. It shifts everything to defense and keeps them there, including your own stuff. And then its other effect is that you basically take a Scareclaw from your grave, special it back, and then add one with a different name from your deck to your hand. So it still is really good engine searching. It gets you extra pieces. It by itself can put 2 Scareclaws with different names on the board. So that means this card could at least attack up to twice already for 6k without even doing anything besides just making it. So it does a lot of things. And if you have protection in the back row or hand traps or different things to really back this guy up, they're not really going to be able to get over it because they can't kill it by battle since everything is shoved to defense. So a really cool card nonetheless. I really do like it. For the Link 2s, we have 1 Dark Charmer, 1 Cherubini, and 1 IP Masquerena. These are probably your best bets for Link 2s. You could do a few other things, but this is probably the most mileage you're going to get out of it. I can see this deck being rocketed super high into the meta if we get a really good Link 2, kind of like Crusadia or Marincess, things that keep searching or recursion and lets you climb will really boost this deck up a good bit, but hopefully that new support as well that links into Visa Starfrost will align with this quite well. But Cherubini, obviously you play a lot of 3s, helps you get to the adventure package if you would like to do that. IP Masquerena is pretty much self-explanatory, as well as Dark, especially since we run Druid Worm. It's a really easy thing to steal a Magnamoot, add that to your hand, and then keep going. Then for our 1s, we play double Lightheart. You could bump this to 3 only because the main thing is the search on this guy is not a hard once per turn. Its effect is when it's link summoned in the extra monster zone, you can add a the field spell, the Primeval Planet, directly from your deck to your hand. And so you can do that as many times as you link into this. It just takes a Scareclaw or Visa Starfrost in the main monster zone. So its other effect is if Visa Starfrost is on the field, you can special it back and then simply bring it back, and then you can even use itself for link material for another copy of itself. But if you, that's just another cool thing about popping this with Visa Starfrost. It's just a free extender. So really good card, absolutely amazing. And then rounding it out, we play the 1 Baron. Obviously, we have the Visa Starfrost in here with the 6 and level 4s that we have access to really, really easily. If you want an extra synchro in here, you could do Shen Shen as a level 9 and a tier element deterrent. And then lastly, we just play the 1 Garua and the 1 Entis for the Dogmatica engine. Pretty straightforward on the extra deck. Now we'll go ahead and hop into the side deck. Okay, the side deck's about as self-explanatory as you can get. It's really just a few cards for going first and a few cards for going second. This deck, I think, does a lot better when you incorporate board breakers or more power cards into it. So that's how the side has been designed. We play 3 Silent Graveyard. This is probably one of the best picks right now to help stop tier, both for going first or going second. In line with that too, we play 3-Dimensional Barrier, one of the most well-rounded cards right now. Again, mainly going first, but does help with other things like Sprite. If you're not too sure on this and you're not as worried about tier, you could do something like Spellbound, but these are my 6 more going first cards, so to speak. The rest is just truly board breaker focused because this deck has such a good board setup going first. We play triple Dark Ruler, pretty much self-explanatory. Applies a little bit heavier to Sprite given the amount of negates they put up. 3 Lightning Storm, again pretty self-explanatory. And then lastly 3 Evenly. So just very, very heavy on ripping apart the board and then trying to set up our own. So that covers pretty much the main, extra, and side. I'm going to go ahead and shift angles a little bit, and we will go ahead and do a live test hand. Got everything turned around, zoomed out just a little bit. I'll try to keep things a little bit condensed just so I can have everything in frame, but we'll give this guy a quick few shuffles because we did have it in order, and then we'll give it a quick cut and see what we're dealing with here. So I'll give this guy a cut, and we are working with, let's see, a Rykart, which is great, Enchantress, insane, Punishment, perfectly fine, Astra is all right, and a Druis Worm. Well, this is good. This will just showcase kind of the bare bones of what we go through and to do our combo and what kind of interruptions we end on. So we will go ahead and start with by banishing our Enchantress over here, making sure everything is visible. And that I have things placed out correctly. So we'll go ahead and do that, and we will simply add our right. We'll go ahead and activate that right to place a copy of Fateful Adventure into our spell trap zone and get a Brave token to our field, or I should say Adventurer token. Still stuck on that mindset. We'll go ahead and keep that here. It's important to note that when you're setting up Brave or different things like that, try to keep everything all off to one side. That will do you best to keep zones clear for some of the combos related to Scareclaw. So from there, what we will do is we will normal summon Astra, and then we will trigger the Fateful to go ahead and get our Draco back. And then on resolution, when all that's said and done, we'll go ahead and activate the Fateful again to add a copy of Griffin Rider, and then we can discard and equip that Draco back to our token. From there, we'll go ahead and special the Griffin to the field. And then now that we are insulated, we'll continue with our Scareclaw combo. So we'll link that guy away, and we'll go ahead and make a copy of Scareclaw Lightheart. On summon, we'll go ahead and activate the effect to get a copy of the Primeval Planet from our deck to our hand. This makes things even better in this case simply because we already opened the Rykart, so we don't have to search it. Normally you would just go straight for the Rykart, but now things are going to be even easier, as I will showcase in just a minute. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll get thin our deck as much as possible before we draw. So I'm going to go ahead and put our field spell over here and use that effect. And in this case, we're going to add a copy of Visa Starfrost to our hand. Then from there, we're going to go ahead and special Rykart to either an adjacent zone or the same column as a Scareclaw monster we have on board. So we're going to put it directly under and activate its effect to search. And then because we have 3 or more defense position monsters on the field, we will get to draw after that search resolves as well. So we'll go ahead and add a copy of Splash from deck to hand, give this a cut, and then we will draw the top card, which we are working with another Acro. That's perfectly fine. It's just another body that we have room to work with. So thinking how exactly I would like to do this here. I think there's no reason not to, but we're going to go ahead and let's see. We'll go ahead and use the Starfrost effect. We're going to special summon it by popping the Lightheart here. So that's going to go into the grave. What I'm going to do, just because, is thinking if I want to bring it back or not here. I think we will, just to keep a Scareclaw body on board without committing anything else from our hand. So we'll go ahead and trigger this and bring it back. We can do that because Visa Starfrost is on our field, and that's a once per duel effect. But of course, we could do that after we synchro. Either way, we're insulated now, but just note that you would typically do that. We'll get rid of both of those to make a copy of Baron with our 6-star tuner and 4-star non-tuner. Now from here, we could special this and just have another body on board and link into something like Dark Charmer or anything else. I think it's better just to hold that as follow-up, since it's, again, another 1-card starter that goes into our link that searches the field spell. And in fact, actually what we can do is, just to showcase, we can link this guy off and go ahead and get another copy of our Lightheart to the field, since it only requires a Scareclaw monster in the main monster zone or Visa Starfrost, and then trigger the non-once per turn search effect again to get Planet. Planet, unfortunately, is a hard once per turn on when you can activate it, so we can't get another search. That would be absolutely nuts, but so there's that. So now that's pretty much going to be the end board. You're typically going to look at something like this, and in this case, you're either going to be dealing with the Link 1 or with the Link 3 on board. So what we're looking at is essentially 1 Omni Negate for Baron, another Omni Negate for Griffin, a third Omni Negate for Splash because we have the Scareclaw monster on board. So that's 3, plus another 2 pops with Dogmatica Punishment, and a third pop as well as a body in the form of Druid's Worm. So we have 3 negates, 3 pops, and absolute insane follow-up here through the Scareclaw engine as well as the adventure package. So that's it. That's the deck. That's the combo. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all learned something a little bit new. If you have not had the chance to give this a test run, I highly recommend doing it. The deck itself is like less than 20 bucks except for Visa Starfrost right now, so it's really, really cheap. And if you had one of those secrets lying around and don't know what to do with it, this is something really fun you can tool around with until a ban list comes later down the line. So with all that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Later.